Hey, it's me, it's Julie Ree. And one of the things that I love in my shop are the menswear that I carry, because not a lot of vintage stores carry menswear. And being that I'm on Etsy and I'm online, I have the opportunity to do that. And it's something that I like. I think that historically I like looking at the different stages of men's clothes. So I'll give you what I use to help date menswear, because on Etsy I really do try to be true vintage, like this true vintage Puritan sweater. This is unisex, but it's cold here in North Carolina in the middle of February 2025. So one of the things I found is this I would say 50s to 60s. It's a very narrow lapel men's jacket. It's from Curly's Clothes. I mean, one of the ways I look things up is to see how long someone's been in business and when they closed. But just seeing that it had a tag that says hand washable. Don't see that very often. That sort of helps you to date when these clothes were made. Another one I have here is from JCPenney's. And it's another narrow lapel 3-button. You can sort of tell things also by the 3-button, but the fabric on this is just fabulous. I don't know if you can really see how cool that is, but it's a really great fabric. Most of the times, one of the things I'll look for inside is to see if I can find anything as far as, now this one I can tell by that logo. That's a really great way to date that. You can always look up labels. That's an easy way to look things up. So I'm kind of hitting their 50s, 60s, like early 60s, because then 60s was all over the place in its own way. It's either really like groovy or it went into, you know, more of the casual things that we think of. This is what I showed you last week to get you into the 70s. Just looking at those colors and polyester blend. But on the flip side of that, you also had this like 3-piece suit. Now this is missing the pants, but I picked it up anyway because it was just too good not to. But it's corduroy, and it's that very dark academia kind of look. This went 70s into the 80s. You know, it's definitely that kind of look. But corduroy comes and goes. Add patches on the corner, and you have more of a professorial look. The next one, this I'm pretty sure 70s into the 70s to 80s. This is a 2-button, but looking at the square pockets, it takes it more 70s. You didn't really see a lot of that into the 80s and 90s. But Hart, Schaffner and Marks from Westfield. So I would say this is pretty much, I would say, into, just based on those pockets, kind of 70s. Here's a suit, and I'm pretty sure I would date this to the 80s. And I look at local companies. I look at things like, I'll get back here so you can see. This is just a navy blue plain suit, but the lapels are a little narrower, so we're heading into the 80s. We didn't have big lapels back then. But you're seeing things like crafted with pride in the USA, because this is when things started to go overseas. Sorry, it was running the dryer. And then I also look in here for the tags of the stores that were here. This was at Valley Hills Mall, and I know it's never been in Valley Hills Mall since I've been here in the 90s. Colors are another way to look at this. Look at this mauve, dark mauve. This is when Alexander Julian was hot. It's hot in the early, in the 80s, man. That was when I was down at NC State. So, but if you look at the fabric, you're starting to see more of a, it's polyester, it's mixed. But that's just based on color. And I'm trying to find the Made in USA tag, but it'll say like this one is Made in USA. This also takes you into the 90s. This is from, but it's hard to tell on some of these. You know it's vintage, but is it 80s? Is it 90s? It's just a great khaki broadcloth jacket, but it is tailored in the U.S. by American craftsmen. This is going here definitely into the 90s. You're starting to see a lot of Italian influence with Armani. That all sort of came out of American Gigolo. But you're also seeing, you can also date things based on the Union label. But looking at the different weaves that are coming, this is very Italian influenced. But you would see a lot of that coming out of Armani. This is the one that came from Ivy's. Ivy's was bought by Dillard's back in the late 80s. Oh, so this is definitely 80s into early 90s. I went to work for Dillard's in 92, stayed there through 95. I learned a lot about, this is where a lot of my experience is. I sold things. I can literally pick up things I sold, and that's what I see. And I'm going to kind of end here in the 90s for sure. This is Jane Barnes. I actually got to meet her. She was really cool. She was designing fabrics for Bernhardt when I was there. So wanted to share my little bit of, let's go through some history of things to look at for men's clothes. Hope I taught you a little bit of something. Thanks for your time. Thanks for showing up. Any questions? Ask away. Y'all have a good week.